Hello and welcome on Watches TV, and today we're going to talk about something that could be a little bit controversial, but actually something extremely interesting because there are many other side stories to just this timepiece. Anyhow, we're going to talk about a less than $5,000 Swiss, 100% Swiss-made tourbillon. How is this possible? Not only the price, but it was done in a very short period of time. So we have Thomas Bayot. You've already seen him on the channel, somebody that is kind of a maverick and talking about how the evolution of distribution can have an impact basically on the cost structure and the price of the watch that you're going to finally be able to purchase. We'll come back on this in the second part of the interview, but first let's talk just about the characteristics of this tourbillon watch. Thomas?
It's of course the center of the discussion. Try to understand how it's possible to have a $5,000, less than $5,000, Swiss-made, 100% made in the mountain of Neuchâtel, where I come from, in La Chaux-de-Fonds. And very glad and pleased to introduce this tourbillon. It's a tourbillon that has all the characteristics of the high-end, definitely. It comes, of course, with the movement itself, the tourbillon, developed by BCP, Olivier Maury. He's a genius, I would say, watchmaker. You have known him as well. I think his work is very serious. And he has industrialized and developed a very robust, very precise, we are speaking about plus minus 4 seconds per day. So we are definitely in the COSC. And by the way, we will have the option for the customers who want to have the COSC certification. And a very strong timepiece, tourbillon, 5000G shock resistance, which is usually the weakness, the weak point of the tourbillon. It's very fragile. This one, don't throw the watch to try.
Of course, but
in worst case, it will survive. 2000 Gauss resistance as well, and a beautiful timepiece that is mesmerizing, as every tourbillon is. That fitted exactly with the philosophy I had in my brand. The motto of the brand is spectacular wrist machines. What I don't put in that motto is for all, but we'll be speaking about this later. So it's an amazing tourbillon. It's a tourbillon that is in a case of a titanium grade 5.
Yes.
Very light, which is sometimes a bit surprising when you take the watch in the hand. So it's very light. The case will be 44. This one is 43. We find it a little too small because of the construction of the case. We want it to be a bit to show a bit more muscle.
Yeah, and just sorry to interrupt you, but we're talking about this is the prototype version of the timepiece. Okay.
Absolutely, it's the first prototype made in 2 weeks. We'll come to that.
Yes, because it's also quite crazy.
Very surprising. So there will be a lot of fine tuning so that the public hears. We have identified about 20 little things that makes all the difference. There has been a few mistakes while we were building that timepiece on the colors. The shiny part, the angles we'll put on every bridge and components, and the finishing as well, which now is sable sanded. We'll be doing it a bit more shiny and matte, so play with the volumes. This is a very beautiful 3D construction made by a very talented, unknown by the public yet, whereas they probably worn already many watches that she created, but nobody know her name, Liliane Murenzi. Very talented designer. So she has given that three-dimensional shape of the watch. As you can see, it's a dark gunmetal, dark gray. It's a DLC treatment, diamond-like carbon, so which makes it very resistant. It's a little bit above, of course, the PVD. And this to show, of course, that we have brought the best of the best components.
And I mean, nicely open work, but coming back on the movement itself, I mean, you offer almost 100 hours of power reserve.
5 hours.
100, yeah, that's quite astonishing.
Which is more than 4 days. So basically once per week you have to unwind.
And the tourbillon beats at 3 hertz. I mean, everything, all the codes indeed are within the watch. But now is, okay, how and why?
And how do we get to that price? First, it's very important as well to mention one thing that is very important, the name of the tourbillon. I call it the Veblen dilemma. I like to bring a bit more added value in what I do. It's the watch, it's a beautiful watch. We want to bring the best of the best to our customers, but we want to make it with a sense as well, with a meaning. This watch costs less than 5,000, so instinctively you say, well, something is wrong,
Yeah.
or the quality should not be there, etc. I can assure you, and I published all the suppliers on my website.
Yeah, you're totally transparent about that.
100%.
Everybody plays the game. It's a great
Because
initiative.
I assume, and although that's very nice, all the suppliers said, please do
Yeah.
mention my name. So you can see the list. It's the best of the best
Yeah.
sous-traitants, suppliers that work for the major top end. You probably know most of them. So what you have here is the best. What the Swiss watchmaking can do. This timepiece should cost $50,000. This is the price you would have for this level of 100% made in the Neuchâtel Montaigne, though it's 1/10 of the price.
Yeah.
Veblen is an Austrian economist that created what we call the snob theory. I say it with a lot of respect to every customer. We need a bit of everything in this world. The snob theory goes against the offer and demand logic, which means that when the price of something goes up, the demand tends to go down. In the luxury segment, sometimes when the price goes up, people have the feeling that it's a bit better. And when the price is low, people tend to think that it should be for one reason. It should be less good. And please check, make your due diligence. This is the best what you can do in the Swiss watchmaking, though it still costs only 5,000. Does it mean that it's bad? That's the Veblen dilemma, and it's not.
Yeah.
As you probably can testify.
And I mean, something interesting to put it in context, and that was a talk indeed during the last EPHG fair here in Geneva a month ago or so. It was the fact that it seems for the authorities or the watchmaking authorities that we've kind of capitulated in terms of what it means for Switzerland to be able to produce kind of entry price level type of watches and say, okay, well, it's not possible. And we see, for instance, statistics now saying, oh, they're very happy because the turnover of the business we've reached the numbers basically back of 2019.
That hides the burning forest.
But indeed, the volumes of production are still going down. So it's just the general. Yeah,
it's melting.
Yeah,
it's dying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very sad. So there is really a big issue there, and behind this issue, it's not only brands, but it's also indeed all those suppliers that are needed to be able to sustain the entire ecosystem of the industry.
And here it makes echoes to, I mean, you were one of the first one to invite me here. We're speaking only about distribution.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was even before I created that brand. And to be honest, and fair honest, I didn't meant to create a brand.
Yeah.
I'm a specialist. I've spent 15 years all around the world building distribution that work for some famous Swiss watch brand. I'm originally from La Chaux-de-Fonds, so I was born in a watch, and I built this around the world. And 5 years ago, I felt that somehow we were missing the point, and we didn't cope with the digital shift. Everybody acknowledged the digital shift of the marketing, but nobody really tried to understand what it means to distribution. And the digital is a canal, like the Panama Canal. You know, you open a new strait between two oceans, which for me is the brand and the consumer, and suddenly in 1914 it doesn't make sense when you go from Louisiana to San Francisco to make the 21,000 kilometer down to the Magellan Strait. You just shortcut in the Panama Canal and you see several things, time, which means money in the business, and a lot of disadvantages that you have to go down to Chile. So suddenly you can shortcut. And this is exactly what digital does to distribution. It puts in regard the brand and the end consumer, and that reshuffles all the card.
But coming back to that fine example with the Panama Canal, I mean, goods of first necessity. I mean, this lowers the cost, so ultimately you can lower the cost of the merchandise that is sold.
Correct.
But in watchmaking, for brands that have been established for a long time, with prices that are established at a certain level, if they would follow a little bit part of your strategy, meaning be able to bypass the existing system slightly, not completely bypass, but doing it in parallel, ultimately could mean that they could lower their price. But it's impossible for them to lower their price today, whereas you, I mean, as a newcomer...
starting with a white
page.
So of course it's very simple, and I don't blame neither brand nor the intermediaries. I mean, they are my friends.
Yeah.
I spent 15 years, and everything is understandable. But what do you do when you have a paradigm shift? You have to cope with the shift.
Yeah, it's adapt or die.
Adapt or die.
Yeah.
I think we were even saying this 2 years ago. So basically, as you say in English, there is the talk the talk, which I was doing. I'm teaching in universities, MBAs. I have my own academy. We have already spoken about it. And finally, I said, let's walk the walk. And I created a new business model called the Affluender, Ambassador Influencer Vendor. Let's say to give back to the end consumer and to allow them to express the passion, share the passion, and become even the reseller if they wish. There is absolutely no obligation. And I went to a lot of companies in Switzerland saying, guys, I think we have not only to innovate in the way we produce watches, because we're very good at that in Switzerland, but we have to innovate in the way we sell it. We understand, everybody understands today it's not about the taxi anymore. It's about Uber. It's not about the hotel, it's about Airbnb. So it's just not just only about the watch, it's about the way you commercialize in the ecosystem. And we have always focused on producing watches in Switzerland and subcontracted the sale to third parties. In my 15 years, I never sold to an end consumer. That was not my job. I sold to intermediaries. But with the paradigm shift of the direct-to-consumer, we have to rethink this. And this 60-65% absorbed by the distribution, the commodity you and I have to go whenever we want to a store to be received, welcomed, with a trained personnel waiting for you, and the stock that is sleeping in the windows sometimes for months or years, that is very cost-consuming. And we as a customer paid. I'm not blaming anyone, again, to be honest. This is how things were built because there was no alternative. Now there is another alternative, which is the digital e-commerce, which I don't believe in because it's completely, it's as cold as a pixel of a phone, so you don't have emotion, and this is about emotion. So I was following, since 5 years, a phygital way, which means that we shift in the digital sale, but we reintegrate emotion and physical interaction. For me, it was not a point of sale, it was a rest of sale. And I believe that the person who purchased the watch is the best we can trust to speak about it to your friend. I don't use, with all respect, influencers, ambassador. I might, but I'm not paying them to speak about my brand well. It's the contrary. With all respect, it's my customers by purchasing my watch who I think have the right to say what they think. But if they don't like, they can say it. I have an app where everybody express what they think. They publish the real picture, no Photoshop, and they can recommend, they can meet. You have a map, you see where everyone is, not at the right moment where they have declared they are, and you can invite them for coffee. They chat between each other, they invite them for coffee, etc. So we all speak together.
But what's interesting is that, I mean, I've always said that the best ambassador of your brand is obviously your satisfied customer. But there, I mean, you integrated that in the business model itself of being able to, I mean, they're not only passive, but they can be active also in the really...
What we call consumer actor. And it's about giving back. As they make the distribution, I give them back that margin. This is why my watches are surprisingly very accessible. But as they speak about it, they make the marketing. So I give it back as well, in the sense that when they speak about it and recommend it, as they wish, they might not, sometimes they're, even if they don't want people come to them to ask, they can recommend the watch and they can give a right for the other person to purchase. And when they do so, they get back what we call tokens, points, that they can redeem against free watch, against free stay in Ibiza. We made that last summer. Or they have a lot of advantages that we're developing. Like, for instance, in Lausanne, we have our own Affluender lounge. And when you buy a $400 watch, which is just chapter 1, you can go for a lifetime, every month, for free, have your drinks. Which is very surprising because, and that's the biggest problem we have in our brand, is that the people say, where's the trick? It's not possible to have that quality for that price. And if you buy that tourbillon at the Affluender lounge we have in Lausanne, we offer you a lifetime membership, and you can go every day. I'm not pushing people to drink wine every day, but you can go whenever you want for a lifetime when you buy that 4,400 Swiss franc tourbillon. So it's about giving back, it's about sharing passion, and it's about having multiples that for us are very reasonable.
So coming back,
that enables us to sell this at a price, let's say, never seen it in
yeah,
the industry.
but precisely coming back on the price. I mean, you were mentioning that indeed 65% of generally, I mean, watch. Yeah, of course, yeah. But let's say just for the sake of the argument to make it simple, 65. So on 65. Kind of gone.
Yeah.
35 stays to the brand. For the brand, obviously, they have to pay production, but also a bit of, I mean, overhead and marketing and so forth, things like that. Which means that on a 100 scale, I mean, the cost of the good sold is actually quite small. And this is something very important because everybody before, that was the only way where brands had some kind of internal leverage for their margin.
This is exactly where we have to rethink the business model. See, on a $1,000 watch, probably 350 would be the turnover of the brand. This is the price I was selling to intermediaries. So the brand earns 350, and when your production cost with a margin of 50% is 175, it means that the production is 50% of your product. It's half of your product. So this is exactly what you have to optimize. And there, Mr. Hayek in the 80s made an amazing job rethinking the way we produce watches. Industrial performance was the right answer in the 80s to an industrial problem because we created the quartz, so we had to rethink the way we produce watches. And as production was 50% of the problem, that was right. We're in 2021. We're not speaking about 350 anymore, we're speaking about 1,000. On $1,000 watch, your cost of production is only 17.5%, and distribution is 65%. So why bothering the producers for something that is way less important than another issue? So I'm paying extremely well my suppliers. And you have mentioned that from the first idea drawing to the first prototype, we spent 6 weeks, which is something defying.
No, this is crazy.
The gravity.
Yeah.
How did I do that? The talented designer, Liliane, worked very hard. And then I went to the suppliers and I said, guys, can you help me? Most of them were already, by the way, my customers. They supported my project. They liked it. They said, yeah, of course, we can help you when you need it. And I said, in 2 weeks. They were a bit surprised. And you know what? Everybody said, you know what? Let's do it. Why? Because what does it mean? And this is what is important behind this watch, or front of this watch, is that we have always said that the suppliers in Switzerland are slow and are too expensive. This is why sometimes for 1 Swiss franc, big brands export the production of components in Asia.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, you have big, especially in big companies, I mean, you have those kind of cost cutter type of personnel, and they will go find a little up, and it doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
All my friends are in the industry.
Yeah.
And I have friends that say, you know what, I'm resigning. I can't go anymore to the Jura and hammer on the suppliers for 1 Swiss franc.
Yeah.
And then private jets and et cetera, et cetera. It's not fair.
No.
Let's leave the suppliers alone. The problem, it's not the suppliers. They are fast and it's not so expensive.
And knowledgeable and have expertise.
And they work amazingly and they even improve my tourbillon. Just once say, don't do it like this, do it like, I mean, we have an amazing ecosystem.
Yes.
Okay, let's put the value where it is. So in my system, I'm doing this. I'm giving back to 2 people, the suppliers, the real heroes. They're not from Hollywood. They're the real actors.
Yeah.
They put their hands in the thing and they produce the watch. And the other real hero is the end consumer. Everybody eats from the end consumer. Let's respect the end consumer.
Absolutely.
And give it back. And why is this important? Because there is a why in the story. It's not about me, my brand. I think it's something much more important than that. You said that the entry and middle price segment is melting. It's dying. Okay. This is 80% of the production, of the volume. It may represent only 10% of the value, whereas 10% of the volume, the last stone of the pyramid, makes 90% of the value. So 10% of the volume makes 90% of the value. Shall we say, let's forget about the 80%? No. Why? Because this is the industrial base. This is what my cousin, my family, my friends live from. So if you just say, let's only take the cherry on the cake and you forget the cake, there's no cherry. So what I'm trying to do is to show that, guys, let's put the priority where it is. We're not in the 80s anymore. It's not on how we produce the watch that will save that segment, as we did in the 80s.
Yeah, no, things have changed
Congrats
for
to Mr.
sure.
Hayek.
Yeah.
No, let's think now how to sell it. Let's rethink together and change the way we do it. I'm not saying I'm just an e-commerce. My system, Afrender system, is not an e-commerce. But let's save that segment. Let's bring substance. Chapter 3 is a Swiss-made skeleton, beautiful, less than 500 Swiss francs. It should cost 2,000, but less than 200 Swiss franc, 500 consumer price. It means export below 200. That's a segment that is devastated.
Yeah.
And it's devastated. Why? Because there is an Apple Watch. Okay, so now for the price of an Apple Watch, you have a real beautiful Swiss-made watch with a soul. And this is how we're going to save those segments, and this is how we can re-dynamize the entry level of the pyramid.
But this is all very beautiful, but let's talk about the controversy, because obviously there is one. I mean, I remember a few years ago when Tag Heuer came with their 15,000 Swiss franc Tourbillon Chrono. I mean, it was driving people crazy. I mean, many brands were just annoyed, a little bit upset. Now you're, of course, I mean, you're not Tag Heuer yet. I hope maybe one day, who knows? But you're putting the bar even kind of not lower, but in a negative way. But yeah, you're just. So I guess you must have had already a few reactions, and can you share a little bit about that?
I first see the support, because I can tell you, I receive a lot of private message from very powerful people from the inside of the industry saying, thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
Same as I receive a lot of messages from customers saying, finally, I can access to my dream. And I really love it. Now, does it threat the big brands, the ones that do things very artisanally, that have everything internalized? I do horizontal manufacturing.
Yeah.
I don't have anyone in my organization. They're all my friends, and we work together. It doesn't invalidate the big name, the big brand, the ones who do the real job with themselves producing the movement. They should not be at all threatened by what I'm doing. Should there be some people that feel a bit unease because they buy exactly the same tourbillon as me, because they have exactly the same cost, but they multiply by 10 or 12, whereas I multiply by 2, as them.
Yeah.
I'm not the psychanalyst of the industry. So look, I do my stuff. People sometimes love to buy things very expensive. They might be under the Veblen influence. Good for them. I mean,
there's place for everybody
and there's space for everyone, and everybody does a good job.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not me to judge. I just do this. I offer the best of the watchmaking to a price that is very interesting. I don't mean everybody can do it. You can't say a family, a father or mother that has 50 years old with 5 kids to act as if you have no family. Of course, you have to support what you have done, and if you have a mortgage, a house, it's not the same as you're a student and you're free with your camping car. It's different, definitely. Yeah. It doesn't invalidate, it's just that it's bringing something new in the equation, and if it pushes people to rethink, to say, wait guys, shall we focus on hammering on suppliers or trying to only produce the very high end, or shall we re-dynamize the entry price level?
Yeah.
Let's think about it. It's a solution.
It's a very interesting debate, and it opens the door to that. Well, I really thank you for showing us this piece. So again, less than $5,000 US. How can we get it?
And 2 major innovations. We haven't revealed yet. You know, I like to bring a bit together. So there will be two major innovations within the watch that I haven't spoken about. You'll enjoy it.
Okay, well, that's good. So how can people out there get a hold of this timepiece?
Well, you go on our website.
And again, I mean, this is the prototype version. There's going to be a few minute improvements and changes.
We have 2 ways. The easiest way is to go through the community, and then you'll be part of the community. If you wish, you can publish a link, and people can register. It takes 2 minutes. They are part of the community. They can be visible or not on the map. And if they buy, they are entitled to recommend. They don't win anything more, and they don't pay anything more. It's just exactly the same, but it helps you, if you wish, to share the passion. Once you do it, you collect tokens, points, that can lead you for recommending one tourbillon. You nearly have one of the Chapter 3 Swiss-made watch. Why do I do this? Because you do my marketing. I prefer to pay you instead of other things. Or you go simply on the website. You can buy it through the website. You don't want to be part of the community. You can mention why not Watches TV, and then I'm very glad to offer to your community one watch if people are seduced. Or go through an affluender that you know. Look on the map. Find someone that lives close to you. Write him. Have a coffee. Ask him what she thinks about the watch. Get seduced, and that's it. And Viva Watchmaking.
And Viva Watchmaking. And what's great, I mean, this has just come out, and it has already sparked, obviously, quite a lot of attention, controversy, like I said, but some actual sales. And you're
in 3 weeks on the drawing. Nobody has seen it. I think we're one of the first one to reveal it. I've sold more than 80 tourbillons.
Yeah.
But when we were speaking, I sold 2, and I called the customers to thank them. I'm amazed that people trust me and spend $4,000 or $5,000 on just a drawing, and people saying, I like this guy, I'm gonna invest in this watch. Delivery will be in April, but people are definitely following it and trying to support. So I'm amazed by this, and I try to always call my customers to thank them for supporting this.
And what's really interesting is that even though it's a new type of business model, new paradigm, everything, I mean, you have people from all ages basically that are interested by the model. It's not just for the new guys or whatsoever.
A guy from 25 years who bought it, and he said, it's all my savings, but I love what you do, I love that watch. I know that I might resell it as well, way more expensive in the future. This is first batch of 220 pieces. So of course, that's probably something that one day can be worth what it should cost in the real paradigm. It's $40,000.
Well, that could be a really nice little bonus, little surprise there. Who knows? But again, I mean, it's the market that, at the end, ultimately, I mean, defines the real price of almost everything. So, well, thanks again for being here. Good luck with this. I mean, each chapter goes a little bit more crazy. So we're looking forward buying a minute repeater for 8,000 Swiss francs in a few months from now.
I'll leave my computer alone for a while.
Okay. All right. Well, have a nice day. Thank you again. And Viva Watchmaking!